What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. You know, one of the biggest problems when it comes to off-meta champions that you can face is that a lot of the times, they really do struggle quite a bit to actually carry games. So today we're taking a look at a list of off-meta champions that hard carry like no one else. And also in this video, we are defining an off-meta champion as a champion that has a play rate of less than 4%, which we believe is pretty reasonable. You know, if a champion gets played in less than 4% of games, it's definitely reasonable to consider them as an off-meta pick. And just before we start, I want to give a huge shout out to ProGuides.com for helping me out with the editing on this video. They're actually releasing a new app that's going to be free to use and it's going to be very helpful. So definitely check out their new app, as well as you can check out their site with a free trial with the link in the description. And if you guys enjoy the video, definitely hit that like button. And if you don't enjoy the video, feel free to hit that dislike as well. And if this video hits, let's say 4,000 ratings, then we'll see if we can put together another list of champions and make a second episode of this idea in the future. Either way though, let's begin. So first up today on our list is Dr. Mundo, specifically in the jungle. Dr. Mundo is actually a seriously powerful champion, but he's almost never picked for some reason. In the jungle, his play rate is 0.7%. So he's played less than once in every 100 games, which is actually the least popular champion on our list today. Honestly, I kind of have no idea why, because Dr. Mundo in the jungle is honestly super powerful if you're playing it right. So some people might consider Dr. Mundo to not necessarily be the most entertaining champion in the game, but those cleavers honestly make his ganks insanely powerful, and you can really apply a lot of pressure in the early game if you land one first for that slow. If anyone on the enemy team's pushing pretty hard, Mundo's an awesome jungler to deal with it as long as you can land that first cleaver really. He's pretty different from other gankers like Elise, because if you land a cocoon, you know, the hard crowd control pretty much does guarantee a kill from the gank, but it's not too hard to follow up on that first cleaver thanks to the slow effect of course, and it's really satisfying to land. It's a lot of fun to play for sure. In the late game, he occupies much more of a tank focused role, soaking up a lot of the damage for his team, but he actually still does quite a lot of damage even in the late game all by himself. And actually having your tank as a jungler really does let you free up the top lane as well for a more aggressive fighter, which can often lead to some really awesome team comps and just be more powerful in general. Overall though, Dr. Mundo's kit is just packed with everything that you need to carry. You know, he's got a ton of base damage for early kills and ganks or invades, and he's really hard to lock down thanks to that regen, that crowd control reduction, and if the game goes pretty much past the 30-minute mark, you can honestly just kind of give up trying to kill him because he turns into this awesome raid boss that can take people down, and that's going to take multiple people to kill him as well, and you can't really afford to do that in a team fight as well, so you're kind of just going to be on the losing end of things if you're facing against a Dr. Mundo jungle. Next up on our list, we have Anivia, and honestly, it's actually pretty difficult to remember a time in the last 6 seasons of League of Legends where Anivia wasn't a powerful champion. Turns out being able to double your damage on your E is pretty damn powerful, and it makes Anivia probably one of the strongest level 2 mages in the entire game. She's only got a play rate of 3.6% at the time of making this video, which is kind of confusing honestly, because she's super powerful and actually really complex and just compelling to play effectively as well. So it's not like her kit is boring at all or not mechanically challenging enough for some people. It's a blast to play. The thing that makes Anivia a true hard carry is the fact that she can start winning her lane pretty much instantly every time she hits level 6. You can time your Q to deal its damage twice by letting it pass through someone and then detonating it for the stun to double up on that effect, and then you can also follow up with an E on the newly chilled enemy to get double damage on that one as well. It only takes 2 QE combos along with an ignite, maybe an auto attack to get first blood with Anivia honestly. And once you're level 3, it becomes even stronger since that E is going to jump up in power by a ton. Add the wall ability to give her tons of versatility to stop people escaping the initial Q effect, and of course you can see how Froggen managed to make a name for himself by just wrecking everyone in the mid lane with his Anivia. Her power doesn't end there though. I mean, at level 6 you can apply your chills super easy for that high damage E harass, and with her passive and wall it's actually quite easy to stay alive, so it's actually quite difficult for people to push you out of lane or to pull off a good gank on you. Anivia's a great team fighter as well thanks to her ability to just split targets away from people or lay down some awesome damage with her ultimate or her Q, and then she can kind of just pick and choose who she slaps with her E first. Maybe she's a little bit at her weakest in the super late game where really mobile or long-ranged burst champions shine, but even then if you catch someone out in a queue, you're probably going to kill them first. And she also gives a ton of just siege as well as defensive power when it comes to killing minions and stuff with that awesome wave clear, and she really does such an awesome job of carrying games, and if you ever get fed on an Anivia, you'll know what I'm talking about for sure. Next up on our list is gonna be Kael, and she's kind of dropped in and out of the meta a lot without ever really becoming a whole lot weaker or stronger, honestly. In the top lane is where she really shines though, and her play rate there is only about 3%, which definitely shows that she is being underused as a champion pick. Top lane's usually where you kind of find, melee bruisers and tanks, and Kael has an awesome advantage over them because she can harass champions from range really effectively, and in lanes where she doesn't want to risk attacking the enemy in the first place, she can honestly just push the waves and sit back and play a more passive farm game almost, forcing minions under their tower to deny the CS before speeding away to safety. Kael can definitely pick up some early kills, but her carry potential really shines once she's picked up an item or two. Kael scales with items insanely well, especially attack speed, because it just allows you to apply, a ton of on-hit effects that just shred through your opponents, and it doesn't even matter if they build armor or magic resistance, honestly, because you deal mixed damage and you penetrate both kinds of damage with your passive. Because she can use AD or AP, you can itemize for whatever works best against the enemy team comp, making her one of the most versatile champions in the game, and then of course you just proceed to 1 vs 3 in the late game. Kael's ultimate is another absolute game changer as well. It's going to decide a ton of games for you, whether you use it on yourself while you're dishing out damage, using it to bait enemies for free kills, or just using it to save your teammates that are maybe just fed or need to stay alive. It's always going to have a massive impact. And Kael especially is going to be an awesome pickup when you consider the fact that assassins are getting reworked, which means everyone and their mother is going to want to play assassin champions in general. And Kael is the premier counterpick to assassin champions, and that's going to make her shine a ton in this upcoming meta in the preseason. Alright, so the next champion on our list, we have to say, is definitely on the borderline in terms of being off meta, and it's Twitch AD Carry, who has a play rate of 3.9%, but we definitely wanted to include one champion for each role at least, just so that there would be something for everyone. However, that's still only a play rate of about 1 in every 25 games or so, which is definitely pretty underplayed, but Twitch seriously carries like crazy. Most people know that Twitch's speciality is destroying teams in the late game thanks to that awesome ultimate, making his auto attacks penetrate through to hit multiple people at once, making him super powerful against teams that have been locked down by AoE CC ultimates. But most of you guys might not understand how strong Twitch can actually be in the early game thanks to his passive. He can activate his stealth to get that attack speed buff, start laying down the fire, throw out the venom cast to get the stacks, and then combine with his contaminate as expunge to damage enemies based on how much venom is stacked on them, and it actually makes for a really powerful laning phase. And kind of just sometimes you can cheese kills at level 3 too. And his stealth also pulls off some awesome plays, and it lets him get kills that no other AD carry would be able to get ever. And it lets him help out mid lane, or even go for some invades with his jungler to help get a little bit of map control if the enemy bot lane isn't around to punish him for being out of lane. For a champion who scales as well as Twitch and just totally dominates the late game, the tool of stealth, being able to sneak early kills in lane or pick off targets here and there, really gives you so much advantages that you wouldn't get on any other AD carry champion, and it's something that you can totally exploit in solo queue to make it so that you pretty much always have a lead in every game. And in general, it just gives him an awesome amount of carry potential. And of course, we wanted at least one champion for each role, so next up we definitely want to talk about Taric support. So Taric sits at a play rate of just over 3%, which again is a little bit on the edge of being off meta, but Taric's rework definitely made him into an awesome champion for solo queue if your team comp fits what Taric is trying to do. His gameplay is definitely based around his W Bastion, which essentially lets him cast his abilities from 2 different places on himself and on an ally, and the effects of the abilities aren't doubled, but it gives him a ton of reach, and actually quite a ton of playmaking potential as well, because he can help lock down targets at just a massive massive range without ever being near them himself, and a relatively long range stun and a nice heal makes him a really awesome lane bully support too, honestly. But Taric really shines once you start teamfighting and you just make your entire team invulnerable. And especially considering the fact that assassins are getting reworked, Taric's going to be an awesome counterpick to those sort of champions and is going to just totally be an amazing champion in this upcoming meta in the preseason especially. And unlike some of the other champions we've talked about today though, you do have to kind of group up together and have a little bit of coordination with your team to pull off some awesome plays with Taric, but it's not too difficult at all. It's very basic stuff, and let's just say it's pretty difficult to deal with an enemy team that has about 3 seconds of invulnerability in a team fight. I mean, a good Taric ultimate can just win entire fights by itself because it just does so much and gives you so much time to just do whatever you want in a team fight, which in turn is going to get you free objectives, and objectives are going to get you the game. And he's maybe not as much of a playmaker as some other potential supports, but in terms of consistency, in terms of mid to late game carry potential, Taric's on a level all on his own. Next up, one of the junglers that I've personally actually had a little bit of success with that is kind of left out of the meta honestly is Wukong. So his play rate is 2.5% in the jungle. Maybe it's a little bit more in the top lane, but his jungling is honestly super strong as well. His kit has pretty much everything you'd want on a premier jungler. You know, he's got area of effect damage for a pretty nice clear speed along with a way to avoid taking too much damage from the monsters. He's also got an auto attack reset for quickly taking down those camps, and he's even got a stealth initiator and gap closer for pulling off early ganks on unsuspecting enemy laners. And of course, the last thing a jungler really wants is a way to contribute to team fights later in the game, and Wukong's ultimate not only has a ton of crowd control and is difficult to escape, but it also deals massive damage in an area of effect, so it can totally shred a team apart and take them by surprise. The only thing Wukong maybe lacks as a jungler is the ability to crowd control someone before level 6. So his ganking before that isn't necessarily the best in the game, but after level 6, I mean, you just run at a guy, use your E, pop your ultimate, and that's pretty much a free kill every time. So it's not too difficult to get leads in the early game, and you have so much damage that it's honestly quite difficult not to get the kill, honestly. And you can still definitely make some plays happen before level 6 as well. Next up, we have Quinn top, which is definitely known, kind of has a reputation for being a super hard carry champion, but for some reason she doesn't honestly get played all that much. In fact, she's only sat at a 1.55% play rate at the time of making this video. Quinn was kind of in the meta for a while because she was honestly so damn broken against melee champions. Honestly, she can just make life super miserable for the enemy top laner if they don't have any ranged abilities or much sustain. Although winning lane is pretty much her primary role, which she definitely does quite effectively, she follows that up by having one of the best roaming tools in the entire game on her ultimate. So step 1, kill the enemy laner a couple times, get fed. Step 2 is going to be use your ultimate, use that item advantage to just wreck the enemy mid laner, the enemy jungler, maybe even the enemy bot lane, especially if they are late game oriented champions and have a weak early game. Maybe she's not necessarily that much of a team fighter, so you don't always have to group up with her, but she is, does definitely bring a lot of damage, and she is like an AD carry style sort of champion. But you can also play way more of a split push style and either force the enemy to maybe send 2 people to deal with you, or they just lose all their structures to your push, really. You can also do stuff like assassins, pick off targets and really catch people out and do so much obnoxious and annoying things for your opponents that it just becomes such a strong option. And she's such a strong duelist too that she can just blind people, combo them out, and just get some awesome kills across the map. And Quinn just gives you so many tools to do so much stuff and make plays in so many areas on the map that other top laners just could never dream of doing it. And as a result, Quinn definitely earns a spot on our list as a hard carry off-meta champion. And that's just about going to cover all of the off-meta champions that can hard carry games for now. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the list, and maybe we'll make another one in the future if you guys enjoy this video. Either way though, looks like that's going to be it for me. If you guys did enjoy the video, definitely hit that like button. Subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.